Please subscribe, like, and share. It really helps us out. And of course, if you have any questions, comment below and we will answer you as soon as we can. Hi, and welcome to another video in our series on IGCSE Economics. This is Unit 7, Part 1. In today's lesson we will be learning about developed and less developed economies. If you haven't seen our previous videos, click on the card above. In the world, there are lots of examples of developed and less developed economies. But why do we say some countries are developed, and some are less developed? There are three general descriptions that we assign to countries. Firstly, let's look at less developed economies. The things that these economies have in common are low level of human and economic development and diversification, low industrial development, lack of infrastructure, low levels of education and skills, low average incomes and poor living standards, low average life expectancy. Next, let's look at rapidly industrializing economies. The things that these types of economies share: expanding manufacturing and services sectors, rapid development of modern infrastructure, rising incomes and living standards, improving healthcare, diet and life expectancy. Finally, developed economies. These have the following general properties: high level of human and economic development, wide range of industries, well-developed road, power and communications networks, skilled and educated workforce, high average incomes and living standards, long average life expectancy.
You may be asking, why are some countries less developed? Countries are less developed because of the following factors: overdependence on subsistence farming to provide jobs and incomes. International trade is dominated by developed nations who are able to control world prices for natural resources exported from less developed economies. Lack of capital to invest in modern infrastructure to support businesses and communities. Insufficient investment in education and healthcare. Low skilled and poorly educated workforce. Low level of effective consumer demand. Rapid population growth. Famines, wars, and corruption. There are many more factors, and there is an excellent video on why some countries are poor. I will link in the description below.
There is also something called the poverty trap. If we have low income, which leads to limited buying power, this leads to a poor incentive to invest, which means there is a lack of capital to grow businesses, which in turn leads to low productivity, which means that there will be low output, which in turn lead to low levels of income, and the cycle start all over again, leading to a downward spiral for the economy. This is the vicious cycle of low economic development.
How do we differentiate between different levels of poverty? Let's take some sort of wealth. Say, this house represents this level. Looking at the second picture, we could say that the people, by comparison, are poorer than the first. We call this relative poverty. This means having far fewer resources than others in the same society. This is measured by the extent to which a person's or household's income falls below the average income in the economy. But looking at this next picture, we call this absolute poverty. This is the inability to afford basic necessities such as food, water, education, healthcare, and shelter. It is measured by the number of people living below a certain income threshold.
What are poverty and development indicators? GDP per capita, or average income per person? But average measure will be distorted upwards by people with very high incomes. And it does not take account of what and how much people can buy with their incomes or their access to health care, education, clean water, etc. Other measures include population living on less than $1 per day, life expectancy at birth, adult literacy rate, access to safe water supplies and sanitation, Ownership of consumer goods. Proportion of workers in agriculture.
What can governments do to relieve poverty in their economies? Expansionary fiscal and monetary policies to reduce unemployment. Progressive taxes to reduce income and wealth inequality after tax. Provision of welfare services and benefits for households on very low incomes. Subsidize the building of free or low-cost housing. Minimum wage laws to raise the wages of the lowest paid employees. Increase the quantity and quality of education available to improve skills and job prospects. Attract inward investment from overseas firms to provide jobs and incomes. Seek aid from overseas governments and international aid organizations.
How about overseas aid? Food aid, but food may be stolen and sold illegally. If too much is provided, it will stop people buying produce from their local farmers, causing them to cease production. Financial aid. But many less developed countries are poorly managed, and do not have the skills they need to invest financial aid wisely, and some have governments that are corrupt and misuse overseas aid. Technological aid. But local people will also need training to operate new equipment and to use new farming, building and other techniques. Debt relief. But full or partial cancellation of public debt owed to overseas organizations may simply encourage some indebted governments to be financially irresponsible again. Thank you for watching our video. Please like, subscribe and share. And comment below so we can clarify things for you.